you like cardamom spice? You probably think of Indian food when I say that, but it's actually a spice that's used a lot in Nordic countries. And in this recipe, it's going to be used in a sweetbread. It's one of the most quintessential Finnish foods that there is, and it's called pulla. And some people I've heard call it nissu. I never grew up calling it that. It's pulla to me. I'm going to show you how to make pulla today, but I'm also going to make it in a vegan version. Because when I had my kids, one of my kids was very intolerant to dairy, so I had to make some alterations. And it's basically exactly the same, except I'm switching out the dairy milk for some almond milk, and I'm using, instead of dairy like butter, I'm using a plant-based butter. I also don't use any eggs in this, and when I have made it for all the Finnish family, nobody has ever said what's wrong with this pulla, so I think it's pretty good. This is such a simple recipe. We used to have it on special occasions when I was growing up. It was Christmas time, birthdays, my mom would make it. She'd put her huivi on her head, and if I have a picture, I'll put it up here. But huivi means like a scarf, because you didn't want your hair hanging around and getting hair in this, especially me, because I gag at the thought of it. So even when I've made it pulla with my sisters, we always put huivit päähän, scarves on our heads. Alrighty, Lisa, what are we doing today?
Me leivotaan pullaa.
Today is November 3rd, 2016. God, I was going to say 2017. It's pulla day today.
That would make me
Let's get it done.
50 years old and one day. It was 2017.
But let me get started, because this is kind of a two-process baking thing. Even though it's simple to make, easy ingredients, and it's even easier now because I started to use my mixer instead of hand kneading the dough, which you're supposed to do. And then once you've made the batter, the dough, you're supposed to let it rise. And then after it's risen, you punch it down, and then you shape it into whatever shape you want. And after that, you let that rise again, so it has two risings, and then you bake it. So I'm going to get started today, right now, because it'll take me a while to make this, okay? And I want you to see the finished product. So first, it's basically, I've got my milk. This is almond milk. It's tepid, room temperature. I heated it up a bit in the microwave. I'm putting it into the mixer. And I have yeast. I'm just using this stuff here. My mom used to buy a block of yeast. She'd go to the grocery stores in the bakery department and ask for a block of yeast, and it would come in like a 1 pound block, just like butter would. Usually what I would do also is when I put the yeast in here, I give it a bit of a stir, and then I do add all the other the couple of spices that are in here into this, but it also, you want the yeast to just kind of start dissolving or breaking up. I'm not sure what it's called. I think it's called a bloom. You want to try to see a bloom in to know that the yeast is active, so that you have good yeast. And I did look at the date on this, so it's very fresh yeast in here. It's still good for another year. So I've added the yeast in here. I'm going to add some salt, and then I'm going to add some sugar. And in Finland, they measure, the measuring cup for dry ingredients is this decilitra little container, which is 100 mils. So I'm going to use this to put a little bit of sugar in here. So this recipe, I'm just going to make a braided bread. So I always call it a sweet bread when I'm explaining it to somebody, but it's a bread that's on the sweeter side, and I even love it toasted with some cheese on it, vegan cheese. My mumma, my grandmother, used to make go hieri taria. Basically, it's French toast. It's poor boy toasts, and we didn't have maple syrup in Finland, but we would use jam and some whipping cream on them, and they were delicious. Those are really good memories that I have. I'm just going to put this back in here. There is another reason why I'm making this, because I want to take some with me, because me and my two other sisters are going to Vancouver Island tomorrow to see the younger sister. All right, here goes the cardamom. This is what I buy, and you can. I buy the already ground cardamom, because you can buy the pods, and I've got some pods too and they come in a few different colors, green and black, I think. And I'm not sure, but I think this is the green. And you break them up if you have the pods, and you have to grind it yourself, and I'm not into that right now. So this is one I buy from an online store that sells throughout North America, and I'll put the link in the description. They're called Finn Goods. But I stock up on this stuff now because I've really got the Pulla making down to a fine art, so it's easy to make now for me, so I make it quite often. So this is about 2 tablespoons of the cardamom that I'm going to put in here. And you can sure smell it. Whenever I smell cardamom, it just reminds me of Pulla. The other thing that you can do with Pulla is make korvapuusti. And korvapuusti is just, you make the same dough, you roll it out, and then you put a layer of cinnamon and sugar inside, roll it up, cut them up, and those are the famous Finnish cinnamon buns. And they're, to me, even better than the North American type that have all the icing sugar on top, because these are sweet enough, but they are so delicious with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. So this is looking good, and now the only step that we have is just adding in the flour, and you add it in gradually. And if you were doing this by hand, you'd be kneading it, you'd be mixing it with your hands eventually, and then kneading it out. But I'm going to let the machine do all the work. When I do this, I try to not forget where I am, because I'm counting, because basically this is a bit of an art, because I used to ask my mom when she made pulla, how much flour do I add in? She goes, well, it has to feel like this and that, and when it feels like this, then you've got the right amount. I've gotten it down to about 14 or 15 of these deciliter containers is what I put in, and it comes out perfect. I don't want to lose track of my counting. And the only other thing we're going to add to it before we let it rise is some butter. And this is plant-based butter. I've added about 4 of these little containers, so I'm going to start on low speed because I don't want to kick up all the flour. Then I just gradually add more flour into here. Nine, 10, 11, 12. I think we're going to be done just about now. 13, 14, and I'll just see how this goes before I do anything else. At this stage, or any stage really, when you're getting close, that's when I personally add the butter in there. See, look at this. If it's starting to get a bit dry looking and harder to knead, then this will loosen it up and get it to the point where you need it. I think I'm done with this part, so I'm going to let it knead here for several minutes, and then I'll show you what it looks like, okay? So usually if I was doing this by hand, it's probably a good 5 to 10 minutes anywhere in there kneading, because you want to really get it to be glossy and really pliable, and you'll see the difference in how it looks now, kind of lumpy to smooth, okay? So I'll show you that in a little bit. It's where I want it to be, and you'll see how this thing is just wrapped around the dough hook. See that? And what you'll find is at this point, it's not so sticky on your hands anymore. Like, it won't stick as much. It just kind of comes off super easily. Before, when you're kneading it by hand, what you'll notice is that it just sticks to your hands and you can't get it off. But when it's ready, when it just separates from your hands and you don't have to worry about it. And that's it. So now what's going to happen is this is going to sit for at least a half an hour, and it's going to just have a rising. Is that what you call it? A rising? I'm not a baker really. But look at this lovely ball of dough, and you can see the speckles of cardamom in there. So it's going to be lovely. We cover it up and let it go to sleep for a while, and then we come back and we shape it into whatever shape we want. And I'm really excited too, because this is going to go perfectly tomorrow when we visit my sister. She is going to have a sauna for us. She has rented a mobile sauna, and it's going to be in her driveway. And if you're interested in seeing what that looks like, let me know in the comments, because I plan on videotaping some of that for you and showing it to you. And then my other sister, she was able to buy a vihta online. That's a sauna branches that are made from birch tree branches with the leaves. Right now she's getting a dehydrated bunch, and we're going to soak them. And what you do in the sauna is you, it sounds silly, but you whip yourself with the birch branches. And really what that's doing is it's helping your circulation in your body, and it feels really good. I remember that in Finland. We had fresh birch branches, and we did that in the sauna. So that's what'll be happening this weekend, is a sauna with the sisters. And I have never been in one of these mobile saunas, so that's quite a mouthful. Mobile sauna. So I'm excited to try that. And apparently the person that we're renting it from, that has the business out there, her father is from Finland. So she has some knowledge about what a sauna is supposed to be like. All right, well, let's let this rise and check it out in a bit. Okay, it's been about 45 minutes, and this is what it looks like now. It has risen almost to the very top of this container. You got Nowie? Oh, and there's my cute little grandson, Milo. Do you want to see? Do you want to see? This is the Pulla. Remember we made it? And basically now I'm just going to punch it down, and I'm going to take it out of here and divide it up and make it into the loaves. Yes. I'm going to make it into the loaves. I'm just going to put a little bit of flour here on the table, and I'll give you a piece in a minute. See? Look. Look. Oh. I usually make 4 loaves from this. Do you want some? Do you want some? That's just flour. Okay, I'm going to divide this up. I have to do this into 4 sections. And then I'm going to just make some braided bread. So there's 1, 2, and 3, 4. Then I'm going to divide each of these into 3 sections, and I'm going to make braids. And this is just guesstimating. And it'll all work out in the end, because you're going to put this down, and after you've braided it, and then you're going to let it rise again for a second time. I'm going to give you a piece after I put it together. If I was making korvapuusti with this, I would just take the I would take the ball of dough and roll it out, and then add, like I said, sugar and cinnamon to it, and then I would also roll it up again and cut it into pieces. And then there's a little trick to it. Okay, let me see if I can do this, Milo. Pulla, yes. Then I kind of do this to make sure the ends are together well. You can have a little, you can play with that. You don't need it. And then I'm going to put these to rise. You could actually probably make 3 larger loaves with this instead of doing it, dividing it up into 4, this batter. So 3 bigger ones. That would probably be good too, but I've just kind of gotten used to making the 4. A lot of rolling. Then before you put it in the oven to bake, because I don't use an egg wash, I mix a little bit of almond milk and maple syrup and brush that over the top, and it lets it get a little bit of that golden shiny coat that you want on it, the golden shiny look when it's baked. I am not an expert at this. My shape always comes out a little bit narrower at the bottom and bigger at one end, but still they taste good. So I usually they don't need to rise that long after I've done this. It's maybe, I don't know. You'll notice when they start puffing up. If you don't want to do this, you can just make round balls like he's doing and bake those. And it's something that's not overly sweet or anything like that. So definitely not super sweet. But it's something that you always had at home when you're make coffee for somebody that comes over. And now you can find this in the grocery store. You don't even have to bake it. Okay, another one for you. I will be going to Finland again with one of my sisters in a month, next month actually. And if you want to see anything about Finland, let me know in the comments and I'll film. But my favorite thing was going to the grocery store, seeing all the traditional things just ready to be bought and feeling so at home, because when you're an immigrant as a child, and even though you like all the things you're eating, all the traditional things that you're used to, you still feel like an odd duck in another country because nobody knows what you're eating and doing. So when you go back home, it's such a nice feeling. You want another one? One more. One more. How many do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so this is the final one. And I'm going to leave them. Oh, I've got one really tiny one here, but that's okay. I'm going to cover these up again with some tea towels and let them rise. They do better when they're warm versus being cold. So I'll let them rise for a little bit and then I will put them in the oven. Okay, so I am just adding a little bit of almond milk and some, oh, and here's my grandson's. I'll take almond milk mixed with a little bit of maple syrup, and you think that you'd be able to taste the maple syrup, but you can't. So I'm just gonna put a little brushing of that on top of here. And then I'm gonna put some sugar, cute, like little pearl sugar, and I'll show it to you in just a sec. So this is replacing the egg wash that I'm not using. And the other thing sometimes people put on is slivers of almond, and I'm not doing that this time. But that also makes it look pretty and it tastes good. My mom would do that a lot. If you're still watching me at this point, thank you. And if you're interested in the sauna video, let me know. If you've got any requests for when I'm in Finland, what you'd like to see, let me know. And also, if you're interested, subscribe to or join my newsletter, because I try to send out a newsletter every few weeks, and it's mostly about, so this is what it looks like. And I also got this from Finn Goods. And it's sugar like this, and it just makes it look pretty, and it has a little touch of sweetness, because these aren't very sweet, so it's just a very little bit that stays on there. And then I'm going to bake these. All right, what do you think? This has been an extremely dark day, and it feels more like fall than spring. And I think it's just stopped raining now, but it's been kind of dark and gloomy. But let's put these pulla into the oven. This is what they look like. What do you think? They're not bad for all the different shapes that I made when I was braiding them, but as you can see, they rise quite a bit and they turn out pretty good, and they are fair sized. So if you divided that batter up into 3, they would be a lot bigger. It's going to be so good. I'm going to take a few loaves with me to visit my sister. Then we'll have some with coffee in the morning, maybe in the afternoon with coffee, maybe after the sauna. No, not after the sauna, because after the sauna, it's going to be a different type of a drink. If you haven't already, maybe subscribe to my channel and then wait for the next video where we all experience a mobile sauna for the first time. That should be fun. I'm actually really looking forward to it. So have a great week. See you next time. Bye.